From early this morning, residents and patrons of the Torres Bowling Club found dozens of fish floating near the surface of the water, obviously in distress. The fair-sized mullet worked themselves into a frenzy, skimming over the water before stranding themselves along the banks of Cockle Creek. Faced with the prospect of removing the dead mullet, some residents cleaned them for use as cat food and bait for fishing. In their weakened state, the fish also proved easy sport for this Labrador Retriever.
Got it!
And children fascinated by a usually elusive quarry. While the authorities agree that there is a problem with Cockle Creek, the State Pollution Control Board says its cause is difficult to determine and even harder to rectify. After carrying out tests, however, the Pollution Control Commission has ruled out the chance that an industrial discharge or poison was the cause. The Commission says oxygen levels in the creek have temporarily dropped below the critical level for fish life, and that this seems to have occurred naturally. The Commission says unless the oxygen level changes within the next 48 hours, the mullets still living in the creek will die.
The fire itself was quite small and only burnt a small section of the vinyl floor, but the smoke from the vinyl was acidic and attacked parts of the machine, causing massive corrosion, until in early February this year the machine was declared a virtual write-off and the hospital began again sending patients to Sydney for treatment. American manufacturer Varian was contacted for a replacement, which it was estimated would take at least 18 months to deliver. According to the martyr, though, because the machine had been a community effort, Varian agreed to slash production and delivery time to about 4 months. And then from Newcastle, Alan Morris then approached Qantas for help in transporting the machine to Australia. They agreed they would fly the equipment to Sydney at the cost of sea freight, a saving of nearly $40,000. The dream finally became a reality when QF4 touched down in Sydney on Tuesday morning and the 2 huge crates were offloaded ready for customs clearance. Again, delivery time was cut, and the crates arrived in Newcastle this morning by road transport. A huge crane had been called in to lift the boxes off the truck and onto trolleys, which would then be wheeled in through the door and into the Accelerator's new home. It's been a long wait for the linear accelerator's replacement since November to now, but it seems it's going to be even slightly longer wait, since it'll take till the end of July to do all the tests and calibrations necessary before the new linear accelerator can be up and running.
Well, when a machine goes in, it's had power down, so you have to bring it up carefully and then process the system. It's not so much a long time to get the machine actually physically running, it's getting it tuned up to what the hospital and the physicists here want.
To ensure there is no repeat of the fire, precautions are now being undertaken. Among them, the Public Works Department is conducting an investigation into alternative floor materials. The hospital itself will install 2 halon gas systems at a cost of $15,000, which will monitor temperatures in the machine and its room. If there's another fire, the system will automatically reduce the oxygen content in the room, smothering the fire. Sister Tarcisius said patient demand on the accelerator had sharply increased before the fire, and it was hoped a second and backup machine could be bought.
One is not quite enough. We are now doing twice as many people as we should be doing on the linear accelerator, and we would very much like to have a second one as soon as possible.
However, it seems all is not lost with the old machine. The replacement has cost $900,000, as $150,000 of equipment has been salvaged from the original one. It's also hoped the insurance company will return the old machine, which according to the hospital can be used for valuable spare parts.
The dancers, ranging in age from 7 to 22, gave a passionate display of traditional folkloric dance. The group, known as Mladist, meaning youth, trains twice weekly and are tipped to win a major dance competition in Sydney this weekend. Today they performed Russian and Serbian dances before an audience of disabled elderly outpatients from the Royal Newcastle Hospital. The Outpatients belong to a club which enables them to enjoy social contact through a number of activities, but none so colourful as today's concert. The dancers also took the chance to celebrate Mother's Day, though these decorative flower girls paid homage to the fathers in the audience as well. The idea for the project began when Newcastle man Ron Monkton's petrol-driven wheelchair started to break down. The chair was made in 1951 and Mr Monkton received it in 1960. However, since that time, both the frame and the engine have slowly deteriorated.
I rode all around Australia to every factory that I could think of around Australia. We went interviewing a lot of manufacturers, like engineers and so forth, to try and get something done, but they said it was too big, too small, too fiddly, not worth the effort, sort of thing. So I just got disillusioned after a while, so that's where I've got to now. I've just got to the point where I just don't know what to do.
The Hunter Region Enterprise Agency was approached by Mr Monkton for help, and they in turn applied for a CEP grant.
We've received $39,000 from them to build a prototype for Ron, and hopefully for a lot of quadriplegics in Australia. The market is there, and with the assistance of the State Dockyard, who have given us some worksheets of theirs gratis, with the assistance of BHP, who have given us consultants of theirs, who are also a member of our board of directors, and with the Metal Trades Association working as allies, we feel it could be quite a successful project. We're carrying out interviews for 3 people to begin work on this next week. Those 3 people are long-term unemployed people. Ideally, one will be a boilermaker, one will be a fitter, and one will be a leading hand with some draft experience, hopefully. But they're all, I emphasise, long-term unemployed, which is another project of ours as well.
Mr Monkton's wheelchair is again off the road due to another breakdown. It can be hand-operated, but until a new piston is received, he has lost a major part of his independence. Independence which he says is essential to him and others in the same situation. However, he has applauded the new project and says it will help tremendously.
60 years ago, but I think it's great. If we can just get half of our people on the road, it'll be great, because it now brings home to people that we have a right to move to, and not to be stuck inside behind closed doors, because you're going to go mad behind closed doors, and I'm mad enough now, but I don't want to get any madder.
I'm Matthew Clark. Students at the Newcastle University today held a special Games Day to encourage interaction between Australian and Asian students. While they say there is no racial problem, they hope today will encourage students of all races to interact more freely.
Join Ray Deneen and Anna Manzoni for all the news tonight at 6.
Newcastle probably the series favourite bout out in this morning's semi-final. They struck a Northern Division side that was simply too good. Northern Division in gold and black takes in the upper Hunter Valley and proved to be a talented, tough side that, despite some solid defence from Newcastle, made few mistakes. The same, though, cannot be said for the Novacastions. They made perhaps 5 more scoring opportunities, only to see the ball go to ground. It finished 22 points to 14. Or 4 tries and 3 goals to 3 tries and 1 goal. Earlier, Western Division in the bottle green colours beat North Coast 17-6 to take their place in the final.
The event combines elements of the steeplechase, cross-country and point-to-point racing. Each team consists of 3 riders who must all keep to the course line and cross each obstacle within its set boundary. points are not deducted for falling or for refusing to tackle an obstacle, though each rider can only make 3 attempts at each fence. Many of the obstacles provided some spectacular action, as Chris Barnes, the Hunter Valley Hunt chairman, explains.
There is a great variation in the obstacles that they go through or over. For instance, the big water jump that we've got down here is always a very spectacular one, but we go around the vineyard, over the dam walls, and most of the jumps are no more than 1 metre high, but there are some pretty big drops up behind some of them, and certainly we believe it's a testing course.
While last year's winners, Pie Eaters, seemed unbeatable, completing the course in 6 minutes 26 seconds, they were pipped for first place by the Newcastle team, Beasley's Three Musketeers, who finished 4 seconds faster with 6 minutes 22 seconds.
Mrs. Helen Lincoln of Holmesville was the lucky mum who won nearly $1,000 worth of prizes as the winner of the Mother's Day contest being held on NBN's Early Bird show. The competition was held last week and children had to write in a poem or a story about their mum. Over 1,000 entries were received, and the winning entry was a poem written by children Katrina, Adam and Tiffany. Last night the family of 5 were enjoying many of the prizes, including dinner at Newcastle's Istana Malaysia restaurant, including a chauffeur-driven ride to and from the restaurant. Other prizes included flowers, a terrarium, gift vouchers and a family portrait. All in all, for Helen Lincoln, it was certainly a Mother's Day to remember.
Eisteddfod is an annual event run by the Swansea-Caves Beach Apex Club. The competition will run over 6 full days, and included in the program are some 75 sections, which are comprised of classical ballet, demi-character, national character, jazz ballet and improvisation. The Eisteddfod is now in its 5th year and has grown from a local dance fest to a statewide competition. This year the adjudicator is Nicola J. Scott from Brisbane, and the major prize, a scholarship for further dance study to the value of $1,000. One of the organisers, Barry Keane, says competitions such as this are very important for local dancers.
The kids in the region and outside of the region for that matter gain a great benefit from being able to compete among their peers. We can say that the Newcastle and Hunter area has been complimented very highly for the standard of dance from this region, and it helps for the kids to have that competition.
And why has Apex continued to be involved in this? It's been going for quite a while now.
Yes, it's been going, this is our 5th year, and it's part of our Apex Club's commitment to youth in our region.
The event will culminate in a gala spectacular on Saturday night, performed by participating dance schools.
The decision to establish a Board of Trustees was made at today's administration meeting. The board will run the museum on behalf of the administration. While at this stage the board will run only the regional museum to be built on the old Castlemaine brewery site, in the long term it may run other museums that the administration funds. In structure, the board will have a minimum of 8 members, plus nominated representatives from the community.
The trustees will be selected from a wide range of people in the area in their particular vocations, so that we will have the benefit of all the experience that they've had, and they'll be selected on the basis of the needs as far as the museum is concerned.
According to the administration, the right people for the job will share a variety of skills and will include representatives from the education, business and industrial sectors. The Board of Trustees will also include a senior museum professional from a national or state institution. Funding for the museum also moved one step closer to being finalised today when the administration accepted a $1 million loan from the Public Authority Superannuation Board. The loan is for 10 years at an interest rate of 14.2% per annum. The administration sought the loan in March this year after cost estimates were determined. The museum is expected to cost just under $5.72 million, which includes the price of the land. The money is being raised through a $2.4 million grant under the Steel Industries Assistance Program, $1.23 million in Australian bicentennial funding, while the administration will put its $1 million loan towards making up the shortfall.
But we had a special allocation granted by the state government to be able to raise the $1 million loan, and of course that's the council's contribution towards the development of the museum. There are other monies coming from the Steel Industries Assistance Fund and also the bicentennial.
Has all the funding now been finalised?
Well, the funding has been, as far as I'm aware, it has been approved. Naturally, the funds haven't been received as yet, but that will be allocated, I understand, as the function proceeds.
So when can we expect construction on the museum to start?
Well, I don't think I can answer that offhand. We'll hope to start it as soon as possible, but to put a specific date on, I'd have to confer with the council officers to see when this will be practical.
Ken Magor has been collecting Fire Brigade and other OOO memorabilia in earnest since his retirement 13 years ago. A former fire station officer, his fascination with historic pieces has led to the amassing of a huge private collection. Today he received yet another item when Newcastle Fire Inspector Ron Herman presented him with this proto-breathing apparatus Mark V. In New South Wales, the proto was replaced at the beginning of the year by more sophisticated German equipment. But for 50 years, the proto was the only breathing apparatus used by firemen. It features a klaxon for communication in noisy environments and a modified mouthpiece, which enables the wearer to talk through the mask with reasonable clarity. And will this proto hold pride of place in your collection?
Oh, my word, I'll say. Of course it will, because it takes me mind back to when I learnt proto in the Broken Hills mine, 1938.
Ken wants to have his collection housed in the new regional museum, but if it's not wanted, he says it will go to a museum in Sydney.
Members of the Australian Volunteer Coast Guard are more commonly known as the Guardian Angels of the coastline. At the Swansea headland, the Coast Guard operates the radio base. It's on a 7-day call for emergency rescues and assistance wherever and whenever needed. The Coast Guard receives no funding from the government. It relies on charitable and personal donations and on a team of dedicated observers to man the post. In the holiday seasons, they're kept busy. This week, 2 young fishermen have been washed off rocks near Sydney. One, a 12-year-old boy who lost his life. On the local scene, there's been no serious accidents. However, young and inexperienced fishermen should be made aware of the possible dangers involved. And according to the Coast Guard, so should their parents.
Generally, the children should stay close to the shore, and those that come to the other side of the bridge in canoes that fish, they are tempted then to come to the bar or have a look outside, and in consequence we find we have quite a lot of times to have to send some type of vessel to rescue them. It's just that the lack of parental control on the children or over the children, and this I would like to point out more so that the parents are to blame more so than the children.
The Coast Guard's rescue vessel, the Coolama, has been fitted with emergency rescue equipment, including anti-knock units, oxyvivors, buoyancy stretchers and first aid kits. A floating ambulance which patrols the shores from Port Stephens to Sydney.
The Swansea Coast Guard assists in hundreds of rescue operations a year, from wayward surfboard riders to sinking vessels. But their main concern is prevention, and that means increasing public awareness of water and water safety. And sometimes that's the hardest job of all.
How we get this across has always been a difficulty, because people
just seem to know better than those trying to educate them.
How hard is it for you to educate the people?
Well, exceptionally hard, only because they don't want to know.
The quiet of the Belmont Pines Caravan Park has been interrupted by earth-moving equipment upgrading the access road, the first step in the council's long-term plan to make the park a major tourist facility. The 36 permanent residents were told on March 18th that all but 10 would have to find somewhere else to live. The council said the 10 would be allowed to stay to discourage vandalism. The permanent residents, many of them elderly, complained of the high costs and emotional strains they would face if they were forced to move. They formed a protest group and enlisted the strong support of the Newcastle Trades Hall Council and State Member Don Bowman. They also met with the Mayor, Alderman Jeff Pasterfield, and last night he recommended to council against forcing the residents out. The council agreed to postpone the redevelopment until the number of permanents has been reduced to 10 by natural attrition.
When the numbers of permanents are reduced to what council feels it ought to be in a tourist park, then I think we'll be able to proceed at that time.
Long-time resident Keith Wilson, who led the protest, is now resting easier.
All the members of the park were real excited about the result. Although myself being an old hand, this business, it wasn't unexpected.
Why weren't you surprised?
Well, I believed in the first place the proposals put up by management to the council were not a profitable, not a good, sensible way to expend $300,000.
Hello, I'm Mark Matho, and tonight in NBN News, I'll be reporting on the retrenchment today of all 90 employees of Wormold's Portable Fire Division at Mayfield. The factory is being closed because it is losing money. The employees have now appealed to the federal government for help.
Join Ray Deneen and Anna Manzoni for all the news tonight at 6.
When you're a young child, the thought of going to hospital can be scary. But for a group of youngsters who went on a special tour through Maitland Hospital today, all their fears disappeared.
Join Ray Deneen and Anna Manzoni for all the news tonight at 6.